The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
A very good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in this session. I am Shaista Khan from Ameyo, your regular host for the webinar. So today we will be discussing how to reduce support cost by using knowledge management systems. We'll be talking about customer engagement, customer experience, how exceptional customer experience improve customer retention. Then we will discuss about knowledge management, benefits of good knowledge management, and some industry use cases. But before we start the webinar, actually few instructions. Those of you who have any question, please do keep them ready in question panel and we will take them up once the presentations are over. So stay tuned for that. So to take us through this webinar, we have two speakers today. We have Rishu Kapoor from Coacher Tech. We have Gaurav Singh from Ameyo. I would request both the speakers to share a few lines about themselves before they start presenting. Now over to our first speaker, Rishu. Hi Rishu, thank you so much for joining us. If you could please share a line about yourself and take this session forward.
Thanks, Shasta, and thanks everyone for joining on webinar today. I'm Rishu Kapoor. I'm part of Nomax team, which is part of Coacher Tech Group, and I handle Nomax product from the business side. Gaurav, over to you.
Thank you, Rishu. Thank you, Shaista. Hi, guys. This is Gaurav. I work with the product marketing department here at Ameyo. I bring with me a good experience in terms of product marketing, inside sales, sales enablement, and especially in the customer service and customer support domain. All right. So, Shaista, shall we begin? All right. Okay, guys, a quick take on the agenda and the flow of the webinar. I would like to give you before we begin our journey. So we'll build on where does this need comes in, right? Where does this need of knowledge management comes in, and what are the challenges that organizations today are facing, not only Indian organizations, but only global organizations, what customer demands. And then we'll narrow down on how we can meet these challenges, what kind of tech stack is necessary today so that you can solve these challenges and grow as a leading company or leading org in your domain. And finally, we'll talk about some of the use cases that we have seen in our industry and where that tech stack or that product line has helped these companies in moving on or improving their metrics, improving their overall customer experience. And finally, where does all this is leading to? What is the future all about? All right. So quickly coming on to my first slide here. All right, guys. So I should start about. I'll talk about mostly the term customer experience here, and why is that? Because I believe a lot of you who you would agree that if you look at the digital landscape today, or if you take any service, any product today, it's all about customer experience. I know there'll be a lot of keywords, a lot of jargons you would have heard from, be it any domain, be it marketing, be it support, be it service, be it sales. Things are all boiling down to that experience that you're giving to the buyer, to the customer, to your website visitor, right? So if you talk about the need of today's people who are interacting with your business, it is all about the relationship that you have with them, the kind of touch points, the kind of value that you're giving in that touch point, the kind of service level that you're providing to the customer will create that differentiation of you with the competition out there. And I'm also not talking about the bigger organizations, the smaller organizations. This has to be true, and this is true across all spectra, across all orgs, across all domains. So that is where the need of customer experience bring in. Giving a small example of a, let's say, a food aggregator company like Zomato or Swiggy, right? Sometimes a small gesture from them can go a long way and give you a good lifetime value of it. But if the gesture is not good enough, or maybe you ordered some food, it was their fault, they didn't refund the money, or the customer service representative was not happy, or he didn't take your calls or your chat very seriously, you will have a bad experience, right? And you will not buy from them, you probably go to a competitor. So this happens. But the problem lies in how do you ensure that you build this culture in your organizations and you build this need of customer experience, where every individual in your company is focused on creating a better customer experience. So if you talk about the organization today, it is all about how you build that customer experience with every touch point going further. Right? So, Rishu, what do you think? What are your viewpoints on this?
So my viewpoint is customer experience is fine. People understand customer experience is very important. But actually, if you see what drives a good customer experience is a good customer engagement. If you don't have a customer engagement in place, things will not fly. It's unlike a customer of late 90s or 2000 per se. Today's customer, the state of connected consumer is changing. While we understand it is important, without a good engagement in place, CX can't be driven. That's my view. And then if we have to increase a proactive engagement and offer, we have to have more enablement on the self-serve channels to other assisted channels. People talk about reduction of volumes at the contact centers, but many times it's pity to see the self-service channels are not enabled with sufficient knowledge. I've been to many brands. You go to a brand, you go to a search bar, you search something about it, it'll say, I'm not able to find that answer. That one thing can create a number of calls again back to the contact center where people were talking about the customer, the call deflection per se. So as 2020 is approaching, a lot of companies will look a way to tie all of their customer information together, and which is understandable measurement of a customer engagement. So that's my view.
Okay. Yeah. So I think rightly pointed out by Rishu, building on to what Rishu shared on customer engagement, rightly said that how is customer experience built on? It's built on engagement. Engagement at every touch point. Engagement, whether it be any part or any function in your organization. How is that particular touch point or engagement adding value or adding a good memory for a customer or a prospect or even for a website visitor, right? So the question lies in how do you improve your customer experience? Obviously by elevating or improving your engagement or every touch point that an outside stakeholder is having with your organizations, right? Today, if you see, there's a strong omni-channel customer engagement strategies in place because customers of today, they're not restricted to a channel. They are the ones who are driving the channel, and companies have to respond by providing different media so that they can connect with the companies, so that customers can connect with the companies on different media. So the onus lies with the companies today and not on the customer, right? So how do you increase or how do you improve that engagement experience, right? So moving on to the next slide here.
Yeah, so I like to add something more on the engagement. And on this slide specifically, we say embrace the change. Things are changing with digital transformation coming into picture. The new expectation shift is coming in that playbook. Trust you me, and that's happening a big way. So what is engagement? Engagement is a trust, and trust becomes more important these days, but it is yet more elusive. It's if you see a touch point experience has become more important than ever. So Gaurav, you were referring to that omnichannel. So that experience is becoming more important than ever now. And the brands will struggle to gather information from the customers, and in turn, they'll not be able to make any meaningful connections with the customer. So let it be a assisted channel, let it be a digital touch point. These are the nerve center of any business. And these touch points should be empowered and prepared to address whole bunch of issues, requests, ranging from simple account updates to a sophisticated product support questions.
Correct. So can you change to the next slide, please?
Sure.
Yeah. So rightly pointed out issue, and I also want to build on that in terms of the experiences that I have seen in the industry or in my daily lives, right? So the point comes in where we've seen that organizations, even bigger organizations who talk about customer service, customer experience, they're very much aware of the traditional customer service channels of having a contact center in place, having good engagement, or I would say a good right engagement in channels like email and calls. But often the digital channels like activity on Twitter or maybe on LinkedIn, they are not responding in timely manner. You can see cases where people get frustrated with the customer service, so they want to hamper the brand image, so they go out on social media and they post on their handles, they tag on their handles. And still, there are instances where people or the company's representatives are not actively, using that channel. And so now that problem snowballs, right? Because if you're not, so my point is, if you're not nipping in the bud, if you don't have all your channels sorted out and all your agents in place, it depends on your traffic, but I would say that companies need to be aware that the time has come where you have to be active on all the channels. If you have those channels at least, and if you don't have channels, it's a different story. But if you have these channels, you need to be active, you need to be prepared with all these channels, right? Now, let's say you're already there, you're using these channels, and you have customer service agents in place who are managing these channels, you have built a culture. Then what is the point of then the point comes of consistency, right? It should not be that on one channel you're doing it well, on one channel, as I pointed out, you're not replying. So the problem lies with consistency of information, consistency of a good experience in all these channels, whether it be call, whether it be email, whether it be self-service, let's say whether it be a social media channel or even a voice bot or maybe an AI channel today. The bottom line is these are all mediums, and the bottom line is the experience. They all combine to that experience, and consistency of all these touch points will help you get there, right? So these are the challenges that we are struggling with. People are not consistent with the service that they're providing their customers, and there are a lot of information available with the agents, and they get overwhelmed by all of it, right? So you also need to keep them motivated. Finally, tech stacks is a problem. I believe it also depends what kind of tech stack you're using. If you're doing it all in silos, then again, consistency will become a greater challenge that it is not right now. Okay, so Rishu, I want your point of view. What do you think? How a consistency of context is an important challenge here, and how organizations should look at tackling it.
So Gaurav, what I say is a relevant information at a right time is very important. So if you see all organizations, they are the owner of information, but whenever you have to find the right information, you'll never find it.
Right.
Searchability and findability is becoming a big problems. So let's see how the information is changing. So over a period of time, information has changed a lot, and it's like the way you consume the information and who is consuming the information. So let me come on to the first point, the way you use information, how the information was used earlier. So for people, information or knowledge was only for the contact centers. It was never for anybody else. But now, if you don't have a knowledge empowered on any of your other touch points, things will not fly. Right. The other thing is, you mentioned siloed architectures and siloed environments. Actually, when we talk about the inconsistent customer experience, it is practically because of that. A fragmented and a siloed environment makes it difficult to deliver a consistent content experience across the channels. And you would have experienced it as a customer. You go to any brand, let's not name a brand, but any brand, if you go to their contact center, or you go to their web page, you go to a chatbot, many times you'll feel a difference in the flow of information which is coming from each of the channels. That is because there is no single repository of information which is lying in the organization. A person who is managing the conversational AI, he has his own set of knowledge, which is not in sync to the other department or a team. So knowledge management, no time is now a single user or a single department tool. It is an organization-wide tool, and that's how things have to be seen. Then overload of information is also a big problem. It's not that people don't have information; they have enough of it, but it is overloaded. And people say, when the growing ocean of knowledge, findability is which will unlock the value. The search indexing is changing. If you say, what would you like to use? Would you like to use a Google or a kind of a legacy library? The answer would be Google. It's very simple. Make it simple. So, and that's the other view. One of the other view which I have is the integration of workflows is one big problem. There is no collaboration in what information is going within the teams and within the different touch points. So that's my view.
Right. I'll add one point to that. I believe that a lot of, for example, I'm talking about the integration of workflows thing here. I'd say that a lot of you who here would agree that as team leads or as a customer service head, customer operations, often we miss out on the long-term plans of customer where we want to go there, and our decisions are driven by immediate needs or immediate challenges that we are facing. So I would urge that that is one of rightly pointed out by Rishu, that it's a practical challenge that happens, because if you don't have a bigger picture in mind, you're going to struggle in the future. So your decisions should be driven through keeping it all together. And even if a new channel comes in or a new channel comes in for as a customer service media, it should somehow set into your story with the future in place. So that is where the consistency of contextual information lies, right? Okay. So moving on to next slide, Vishnu, I would like you to take it up.
So it's very interesting if you see the slide. Everybody has their own jargon and their own definition of knowledge. You go to organization, people will not understand knowledge management directly, although they might be using it in a different way. So people will call it as a KMS or a KM or an Omnichannel platform. Many times they'll say, we have an Omnichannel platform, we don't need a knowledge base in place. Why? Because we have an Omnichannel platform, the information management system. A lot of organizations, trust me, you speak to, they'll have a SharePoint and they'll say, we have a very good knowledge base in place. And when we ask a question, how do you search information from that ocean of knowledge? The answer is, oh, let me come back to you. That's where the problem lies. So it can be any language or a jargon of knowledge management. But what we say is our definition on knowledge management is very clear. It's a customer engagement practice which delivers a better customer experience across all touch points. So that's my view. In my experience of working with various organizations, in various geographies and industries, and speaking to a lot of professionals from CX to digital transformation to training, I've realized that the need of knowledge management exists unknowingly for almost all professionals today, which are in discovery stage, trying to figure out how they can fix it. And many times we also feel that knowledge management is kind of a parked thing. We'll do it. People don't understand the long-term goal. So Gaurav, you mentioned the long-term goal. I like to build on it. It's a long-term strategy. So it was not a very instrumental module per se till now for many organizations, but the way the digital customer is changing, the way the customers are approaching and consuming the information, this is becoming the utmost priority of many knowledge-oriented organizations today. What's your view, Gaurav?
Right. I think I agree with that, Rishu. And I also believe that, let's say there are a lot of jargons of knowledge management here, right? But in the bottom line, when you see the kind of queries you receive, right? Or maybe somebody is searching for you something on the website for a marketing function. For a service function, somebody are looking for information which he needs in the right time, and he needs it immediately, right? So if you break it down somewhere, you'll see there's an 80-20 rule. 80% of the queries will be repeating in nature, right? You don't have to put more money into it. If you act smartly and you have a knowledge management in place with covering at least 80% of these queries, you can make a big impact in your customer service function, you can make a big impact. Even, let's say, even in a marketing function where you want people to find out about the FAQs, they are there they can do it with themselves. They can have a self-service option. But the point I'm trying to make is 80% of the queries can be handled faster, which means you will save a lot of money basically in the end of the day. So I would say yes, knowledge management is necessary.
I agree. And I think we will speak about it in some of the use cases where we'll be talking about an integrated knowledge workflow with the Omnichannel platform. So let's speak about it later.
Yeah. All right.
So let me take this slide up, Gaurav. So it's again, we spoke a bit about in the last slide, but here what we are saying is how the knowledge management is changing. And again, picking up dots from the definitions. In late 80s, it was like copy binders. People used to find that information into those papers and giving that information. And trust me, the chaos was not that bigger. But moving on, things are changing. Now people say SharePoints. We have a spreadsheet which is macro-based, finding information within those sheets. That's something which is coming into place. But what's the future? Future is an intelligent knowledge management system, which has to be integrated in nature. If we only think about a contact center knowledge base today, things might not fly. Again, we are talking about a short-term goal. We have to think long-term. We have seen this evolution in almost every aspect of our lives, from landlines to smartphones and to warehouse operators. The same way, this knowledge is also changing. But the juice lies in the actionable and intelligent knowledge base. We have walked a long way and digitized our knowledge, which is today in the form of various file formats. But now, how we make them dynamic and reliable in nature is something that we have. So that's my view, Gaurav, on this.
I think rightly pointed out by you, because for having an intelligent knowledge base in place, which I think the example I gave earlier about having a marketing function and a service function, but if the knowledge base itself it's that much intelligent and is that much segmented that a single knowledge base can serve all your queries in terms of your department or in terms of your whole organization, that would be awesome. I would say you're creating a one repository which is intelligent in nature of the tool, and every function will be able to use it. So it will not only ensure consistency of information, also even from an adoption point of view in an organization, you will be able to get this adoption as soon as possible. I would say that even if people who are listening to us, you would have faced this problem in your organization where every function has a different knowledge base, and then there are key terms. Let's say your marketing is trying to use some term, your sales guys are trying to use another term because they have been coming from a different industry, or maybe they've come from a different organization. So how do you build that consistency? Trust me, in an organization, if there is no single repository, it can go into chaos pretty fast, right? So this is very important in terms of creating that consistency of information, and as a tool, using it throughout the organ of support, marketing, sales. It will be very helpful in the long way.
I agree. So let's move on. So it was more on to how knowledge management is changing, but let's see how the users of knowledge management are changing. It was only humans who were using it some time ago. Today, it is getting integrated with a lot of systems and a lot of digital channels, including the conversational AI or virtual assistants have been using it. But let's see how it will change in future. And that future is not far away now. We're talking about another 2 years or so, not more than that, wherein a lot of wearables which we are wearing will also start consuming a lot of information. Now, how Fitbit is giving the information versus how Apple is giving the information, or how Siri is giving some sort of information, it is linked to some sort of repository, and an intelligent repository, and searchability is something which works there, make it contextual and throw back that information. So the users will change for sure. So it would not be any more siloed architecture of knowledge which will work. Knowledge will become a salient component of the entire enterprise architecture per se. Right. Yeah. Okay. So moving on to it, we have done some work, Gaurav, on this, and Nomax as a platform does that for a lot of brands globally. And what we say is it's not only about, many times you go to organizations, they say articles and FAQs, and that's the end of knowledge management. It doesn't work like it. A different kind of queries. We talked about in our earlier slides that it can be a bunch of request, complaints, or queries which a customer can come in and ask. Can each query, request, or complaint handled in the same way? I have my doubts. So you need different components which can handle the customer request, complaints, and query. So if it is something related to troubleshooting, maybe a decision tree will come into picture, which is a kind of an answer flow, free flow, which has converted your SOPs into a digital method, and everybody is using. What is happening is there is a consistency in the flow of information, which is going to the customer from the assistive channel, or if the customer is using himself, he's following the same way as well. Similarly, the picture guides to bots can't work alone. Bots need a knowledge. How do we ensure bots are fed with the right knowledge every time and they answer it right every time? How do we do that? And to check the knowledge across the channels, you need a good learning management in place, which can see the efficacy of information which is disseminated across the channels. The knowledge system which we offer is integrated across all platforms. Happy and glad that we are integrated with Ameyo as well on this, and it's an omni-channel tool for us. And if we move on to some of the use cases here, the first example I would like to quote is something which we have integrated with Ameyo, wherein it's an omni-channel platform. The knowledge base is integrated within that. But what happens is this. It actually guides the agents with a smarter customer interactions. So that's what it is happening. So in your case, Gaurav, as some time ago, was you had such a nice system for managing all your interactions and omni-channel interactions into one single page. But the missing dot was the knowledge base. Wherein while we added that particular dot, some of the deployments we have done, we have seen a kind of benefit to those organizations. The reduction of cost is like 15 to 20%. Right. So, Gaurav, any view on this? Because you have been doing a lot of work on this.
Yeah, I'll have to take a minute on explaining the slide to my audience in terms of what kind of use cases we have seen and how we're helping people with this. Can we go to the previous slide, please?
Yeah.
All right. So for guys who are seeing this is an Ameyo, our product's user interface. So my idea of being is not projecting you the product, but I want to talk about how it helps customer service organizations with let's say Nomax in place, how it helps you to improve the productivity of your team, to save money for you, and to help your agents perform better, and they should be doing solving queries at a faster rate so that each agent can handle more number of queries. So how it all comes into one place, or it comes together, is, so if you can see the UI here, there's a lot of channels that we support. We have embedded CRM integrations, different integrations, let's say Go, Salesforce, anything, whatever industry CRM that we're using. And we also have integrated knowledge base, Nomax, in place here. So if you think of a scenario, of a customer service scenario, especially from a front office agent point of view, you would see that it helps you push up your first call resolution rates. Again, I'll talk about the 80-20 rule, where often it happens that a lot of queries are repetitive in nature, right? And if your agents are new, then we might have all types of front office agents, new agents, older agents, experienced agents. But what you want is you want them to be consistent in solving at least the lower complexity or higher complexity query. How are you going to do that? You're going to do that by providing the right information at the right place, right? Which not Nomax helps us deliver in this case. So if it's the small query, so it will only take one call to at least guide the customer on the next step, or solve the query right there and there. So essentially what it does is help you push up your FCR rates, which we call as first call resolution or first contact resolution rate in terms of the customer service or contact center industry. Secondly, if the FCR improves for your process, you will see that your agents are handling more number of calls, more number of queries, which means they're free to handle even more number of customer service queries. So ideally what you're doing is with lesser agents, you're handling more number of queries. And with the tool, obviously, you have all the information in one place, whether it be customer information or whether it be knowledge base. So we call it as unified agent desktop. It's an industry jargon, but it means that everything comes on into one desktop so that the office agent or the front office agent or even a back office agent has everything readily available with him. He doesn't lose time in terms of doing all tabs, asking his superiors or supervisor or different agents. So we try to provide as much information and not also at the same time not getting him or her overwhelmed by that information. So that is how it helps us, right? So this is the use case we want to take. So we do it with a lot of our customers, but I will not go into each of that. I would say we can talk about the other use case.
I agree. So here I'd like to talk about one of the case studies wherein we have helped a global telecom operator reducing down the service costs by using the knowledge management solution. And there were various use cases where we were able to help them. The use cases were starting from increasing their first time contact resolution and at the same time, how do we increase productivity of the existing agents? And the third one was majorly on the documentation. In any organization, documentation is the key. You need to have 100% compliance on whatever you are interacting with the customer should be documented. So we have given a complete integrated tool to that customer, and it was like a knowledge base with a intuitive content management system. It was being used in multiple languages and a deeper integration with their backend systems. And on the top of it, there was an element of managed services as well. Because knowledge, again, has to be managed. It's not that you buy a knowledge management system and then we just sleep on it. It doesn't work that way. Somebody has to manage it regularly if you want that to be a lot effective in nature. But trust you me, knowledge management has a substantial impact on overall top line success. However, it's also important to note that its benefit in helping a lot of companies to boost their bottom lines as well. Specifically for the knowledge-enabled businesses, they improve their customer profit margins year on year, while the counterparts who are not using such a system will have an annual erosion in this metrics. So that's one of the case study, which was more onto the assisted side of the businesses. But there is one which is very interesting, and I mentioned in my earlier slide as well. Bots will not work at their own. Bots are like a human only. Many times, human intelligence is something which will drive the artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence doesn't work at its own. Many brands have that perception. You deploy a bot, and bot will keep answering the questions as and when it is required. But actually, it doesn't work that way. And then the other thing is you can't have your bots on an unsupervised learning method as well. So coming on to this point, we helped the brand. The goal was very clear: go digital, have a alternate channel of support for them, because in that market, the contact centers typically shut down by 8 p.m. in the night, and then there is nobody who is there for customer support. You can't control a customer that he should come for a help, and if he needs a help, he should not come to a contact center or retail, because retails are shut, the contact center are shut. Where should that customer go? You have to have something in place. So we did that. Quite a good number of transactions we are doing it with this brand on the chatbot side of the business. But the the key is 70% transactions are handled successfully by the chatbot, which is powered by the knowledge base. And that's one of the success metrics that chatbot has been successful, that brand.
Yeah, I think great. I think it adds a lot of value. Yes.
So I'll move on to the next one. So this is very so what we say is visuals are replacing this, and we all agree that the visual is much appealing in nature. You have something in front of you, guiding you would be much more helpful than you reading a map. Gaurav, let me ask you, how many times you have read a user manual of a TV or a AC or any connected device you have bought in your house?
No, I am not actually. I would probably go to review section and talk about, okay, what all things are there, what all things are there. I'll probably, very hardly I'll go through the whole manual, maybe key points that I'm not able to figure out by myself. And if I'm able to figure out by myself, I probably not go there, but I would say that sometimes there'll be some things where you will go through bits and pieces of the user manual, but I will not go through the whole user manual if that's what you're asking me.
The funniest part, Gaurav, is that you can't even read that user manual. It is in such a small font. Who will need a user manual is not from our ages, but somebody who is a bit elder than us, who needs, and because they are not digital, right? They will not go to a website like you and will find information. So what we say is, coming on to context, the visual support is very important about having in front of you, which is guiding or simulating you the experience, and this can be anything related to your device, how to set up a TV or how to set up a set-top box, or a app. We have apps, all brands have apps, and they say this is one of the things which they have done for digital transformations. But how many customers are using the app is one of the biggest problems. The contact center will say, download the app and pay your bill from this app next time. But they don't know how to pay the bill. And neither the agents at the contact centers know how to do that, because they can't use mobile phones on their production floors. That's what I'm trying to make is visual support is much more important, and we have done some work, and we have been doing it for many years now with many brands, let it be Telecom or other brands, wherein anything which is on the visual support is something which is more appealing in nature. So I, as a customer, and it is not only about customers. Many a times, large brands have to empower their distributors, retailers, anybody when it comes on to supporting them. They have to have something ready with them, and it helps them add value to their customers as well. So it is about picture guide based support till now, but the future is a lot more moving to augmented reality, which I'll not like to spend more time on it today. But what I'm trying to say is things are moving more on to visual than the legacy list per se.
Right. I think if you talk about guiding your customer or guiding your stakeholder through a product or through anything today in the market, visuals, vertical videos, they are already ruling. I mean, in terms of if I look at the landscape out there, that is what we are engaging more with rather than a text, right? If there's a video or there's a visual representation, maybe an infographic, right? Obviously, the engagement is going to be more. It's going to make life easy for your product users in this case, right? They'll get onboarded faster. Again, it's a win for you.
I agree. So let me talk much about it further. So we have seen some of the use cases, how brands have benefited with these use cases. But let me spend some time on the future knowledge management models, which is key to know. So what we say is keep it simple. People will love to go to Google. People will not love to go to a SharePoint and find that information. You mentioned on the user manual thing that I'd rather go on to web, search some reviews, type a correct keyword and get an answer out of it. That search indexing is content discovery is the key, if you see, and that unlocks a lot of value. for the brands. So that's about it. When we say knowledge management, how is knowledge management is changing? So it is not only about knowledge management or having knowledge base in place, but it is a cyclic process. So what knowledge base does is it is kind of a single source of truth for a lot of organizations. When I say single source of truth, anybody in the organization or their customers will search into that database or that repository to find that information, right? So that's what the knowledge base will do. But how do we ensure, is it being used by the users at the right time, or are they understanding that knowledge or not? And that's where that learning management comes into picture to see that efficacy of the disseminated information. And the last thing is quality management, which will periodically check the efficacy, not efficacy, but periodically check the quality of content, check the compliances, check the quality of content, how good or bad it is. And the knowledge management knowledge base has created that information, but the rest of the two components will kind of circle back a lot of feedback to this knowledge base. So what we say is, knowledge management is no more about contact centers. It's a department tool. It's not a department tool. Also, it's an organization-wide tool, and that too, it has to be omnichannel in system.
All right. Vishu, I have a question here. Here. So in terms of learning management for things like, let's say I'm talking about a case of an assistant agent. So if one particular question is being asked a lot and there's an answer to it, if you can grade that answer or rate that answer, it pops up so that the agent can find it sooner. So does that how it works?
Yeah, that's one of the use case which will come, because somebody sitting at the back end who is capturing that feedback and who is looking at that how many times it is being asked, it might prompt. And many times search indexing comes into place. You can have those search logics in place. If this is the mostly asked kind of a question, why don't we get it up in the ladder rather than showing it below?
Yeah. I think.
And then your searches become more so NLP enabled in that case, not on the day one of the deployment, but
obviously learn.
Patterns,
Yes. But I agree. I mean, it'll help a lot of guys, a lot of organizations out there.
Yeah. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of the slides, and what we say is the user is changing, the user behavior is changing, the way they used to approach the brands is changing. It was very much voice in nature, but it has moved from voice to text now with WhatsApp coming into picture. A lot more bots are moving on to WhatsApp, and then people love to have that in nature. WhatsApp is a de facto, and that's where that channel is empowering a lot of engagement per se, from the support side or the buying side of the businesses. But if we see a overall architecture of an enterprise, which is in this gray area, so in a typical enterprise, you'll have an omni-channel platform like Ameyo. You guys are leaders in what you do. That organization will have other components like something on the RPA, something on the enterprise service bus, which will have a mediation for a lot of systems which are there in place, a kind of a API interfacing, and then NLP or analytics. But one of the missing and the unsung hero remains is the knowledge management. Knowledge management is something which will empower a lot these channels and a lot these systems. Many times we see that as missing in that enterprise. So which speaks to a lot of systems which are in silos. The information is available in silos in different file formats, and but that's where the curation of that information is required by knowledge base to extract it and then reused and disseminated across assisted channels and digital. And this will have information dissemination, or it can have touch points starting from lead generation to sales to fulfillment to support to retention to promotion, and finally giving some analytics onto it. And for the customer, he'll get a better resolution if we have this kind of architecture in place. So if you go see Gartners and all, they have started publishing that 99% of the organization AI initiatives might fail if you don't have a good knowledge base in place.
Right. I think, yes, process is important. I mean, the way you create your knowledge base is very important today. And this tool will help you or enable you to get it plugged in through all your channels so that you maintain consistency. And then finally, the learning management part and the quality management part, as you mentioned now.
I agree. And then again, picking up threads from the last slide, what we say is a good knowledge management is key to a successful CS and CX strategy. Right? Silo system might not work. You have to be agile. You have to be collaborative in nature. These days, people never talk about selling a system in silo. They'll say, let's collaborate with somebody and give an integrated system. That might make much more sense than anything else. And one of the mistakes many organizations make is that they kind of enable or deploy this product in silo, which might not work. So a suggestion to many brands and people who are hearing this webinar is design an omni-channel centric knowledge management program, then only a department knowledge base. Regularly, we'll have to gauge the efficacy and effectiveness of the content library. You have to have some knowledge champs inside who can manage that knowledge in a way which has to be consumed by the user and the way that consumption is required for your users. And omnichannel is the same. All touch points have to be in sync. If there is no consistency across all touch points, trust me, the objective of reducing the support cost or having a better customer experience might not happen. Gaurav, anything on that?
No, sure. Please go ahead.
Okay. And then finally, what I say is the typical business benefits which you see from a good knowledge management system. You'll reduce the learning curves when people are coming on board and increase overall productivity because they'll have some ready reckoners in place. You'll achieve higher customer satisfaction because of that. You'll have a better business efficacy across your touch points. And then a lot of process improvement identifications can be identified while we have a blend of, that knowledge base, the learning management system, and the quality management. Yeah. So that's about it for today. So Gaurav and Siasta, we would be happy to answer any questions if we have from our audience today.
Yeah. Thank you, Rishi. Thank you, Gaurav. So now we'll go ahead and take some time for the questions. Just a reminder to all the attendees, please be sure to type your questions into the question box, control panel. So it looks like we have a few questions. So the very first question is from Shubham, and the question, quite interesting. How this knowledgement is different from Freshdesk knowledge base?
Again, I'll come on to the point, and I mentioned in my webinar as well, many times people see this knowledge management as only a FAQ or article management system. And all these omni-channel platforms, let it be Freshdesk or Zendesk or anybody in the same league, might have that article FAQ in place. But what they miss is one, different components to handle different query requests and complaints of the customer. Second, how do we ensure there is an omni-channel experience for those brands? So today, a knowledge base from Freshdesk might solve a problem for one department again, which is contact center, but it might not solve problem for all the touch point. And then I like to make a point here that they are more robust CRMs systems, so to say, or CRM players, so to say, but not a good knowledge management.
Okay. Hope, Shubham, the question is answered. Can you hear me?
All right. Yes, actually.
Okay. So here's the another question. The question is from Kajal, and it is, How to ease the burden of customer support team through a contact center solution or knowledge management?
Well, I believe that both have to work in sync, which I actually showed in these slides as well, because customer support software, it can be omnichannel, it can have integration with different channels, will have a unified desktop, everything will be in one place. But to have your front office agents with some extra information, on extra, when I say extra information, is the relevant information, depends on your research or your process that you have set up. And historically, if you've run your process for so long, you would know what kind of questions are there. So you should have an answers, configure. You should have a knowledge base created and have a tool in place for easy dissipation of that data, so that you can have a real-time access of a relevant information with the customer support agent. So that is how they both have to work in sync. Again, process and technology are very important here.
Gaurav, here I'd like to add something that all this chaos consumes a lot of time of the agents. But if you have a single unified kind of a thing, because what's the agent's primarily job? Their primary job is to serve the customer and owning their, rather than just shifting between or toggling between the different screens there, and then keep stretching the calls of the customer impacts a lot their productivity and the customer experience part.
Right, I think right.
Okay.
Any more questions, Aisha?
Yeah, I could see there's one more question. So it's, what are the benefits of having a contact center solution?
Okay, may I know who is this the full question? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I don't. If you can name the name and the company what you're working for, I could give you a better take on things. All right. So I'll take a guess here. Let's say if you're a growing organization, right? If you're a growing organization, at some point you might have a lot of customers, and as customers increase, obviously service queries will increase. If you look at a small e-commerce or an internet-driven company today, everybody's getting funds, so they're growing. Or even if you're not getting funds, you're growing, and you're growing. The customers are growing. Obviously, the queries will grow. So how will you serve these? How will you serve your customers? Again, initially there'll be some calls. Then you'll have emails. You'll have social media messages coming in. So you need to have a tech stack in place which can have a standardized process for your customer service to happen, right? As you grow, things should be in order. You should be able to support them in different channels. First thing. Second thing, as your customers grow, queries grow, obviously your agents or your front office people will also grow. So how do you monitor those people, right? How do you ensure that your customer service is productive in nature? There are no loose ends. You're filling in the gaps. There are no chinks in your armor. So how do you ensure that? That is where a customer or a contact center software will help you, right? And then again, it depends on what kind of software you're going to use for. So most often I've seen that people again go for a short-term strategy. Okay, I have two agents now, so mostly I'll go get an IVR or a simple, a very, I would say, a cheap solution to fulfill my engagement. But what they miss out that the thing is, if your business is growing, you need to have a longer or larger strategy in place. You need to have that big picture in place. So you better go for a technology which help you be future-proof, which help you add more channels. If your team grows, you're able to manage them better. You're able to monitor them better, right? You can go for a cloud model if that's too expensive for you. But again, having a good tech stack integrated with your own, maybe an ERP system, or maybe, for example, in an internet or a food delivery. If you're a food delivery company, they have order management system. So a stack that is well integrated with the workflows is able to handle your external stakeholders, your customers, and your internal stakeholders, giving all your information in one place. And the example I just answered in the previous question, that is what a good customer support software or contact center software will help you achieve. I hope I was able to answer it, or if not, you can also send your queries directly to Shaista. I can reply you over the email. All right. Okay, so any more questions, Shaista?
Yes. There's one more question, and this is directly for Rishu. So, Rishu, one of the attendee, Shivani, she wants to ask, is knowledge base different from self-service portal?
No, I think self-service portals will be empowered by knowledge bases, right? So it's not different. Self-serve is one of the channels for knowledge base. So you will have to, so knowledge base will help empower that channel.
Okay.
Right.
And we'll take up one more question. This is coming up from Money, and the question is, so how do you know if your self-service portal or knowledge base is working? Are there, I guess he wants to ask, are there any things to measure the quality or what?
So there are typical couple of things which you can do. So to see how many people are using it, we can give you analytics, which will give you a holistic view of what is happening across your channels when people are using the knowledge base. And you'll get overall touch point here, how many people are using on website to contact center to an app on a chatbot. And then further on how good is the efficacy of that system. Typically, we have a internal a feedback management system within that product, where the agent can rate that the agent of the customer on the self-service channel can rate that information, which flows back to the system again to see how what is wrong with what that, because the next future is also not a siloed or a tribal knowledge base, but it'll move on to a community or a collaborative knowledge base, wherein a lot of customers can use that a portal to crowdsource that information, which is not all available with the brands. So, so for the metrics of how do we check, analytics is the key, and how do we see what is happening and is it relevant or not? That would be a blend of the integrated feedback management system.
Okay. Thank you, Rishu.
Is that right?
Sorry, can't get you.
No, I was saying, does that answer the question?
Yes. Okay. So it looks like we have covered all our question. Is there anything else, Gaurav, you and Rishu want to cover before a wrap up?
No, I think I'm good, and I really hope that I'm asking for all the attendees. I believe you would have something to learn and something to implement in your processes. I hope that we were able to deliver. And if anything, you can reach out to me or Shaista directly. I will be happy to respond to your queries over email.
Great. Thanks, Gaurav. Rishu, you want to add something?
I think Gaurav has mentioned it rightly. So nothing much on this, but if anybody has any questions, just send it to Shahista. We will be happy to answer the question, because in 10 minutes we will not be able to gather a lot of questions. We'll be happy to answer those and interact further on it.
Great. So thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. Thanks again for joining us today, and we'll see you all again next year with another webinar. Hope you all had a great session. Wish you all Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in advance. Thank you, everyone.
To you as well, Shaista. Thank you, Rishu. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Happy holidays.